Assalamualaikum. We are from Group 1. We want to present about urbanization and the rising cost of living in Malaysia, a sociological analysis. For our team members, we have Adni Nabila binti Adnan, Mira Hafiza binti Muhammad Shukri, Ku Fazira binti Ku Izaham, Nur Afrika binti Muhammad Azri, Amni Shafiah binti Amran, and the last one, Nur Afrina Batrisha binti Uzair. For the introduction, urbanization in Malaysia has led to rapid city growth and development. However, it has also caused a rise in cost of living, especially in urban areas like Kuala Lumpur and Pulau Pinang, affecting the affordability of housing, goods and services. Now I will pass for the next presenter.
Next, we will continue with the problem statement. Malaysia is grappling with a rising cost of living, particularly in essential areas like food, housing, and transportation. This disparity is affecting households across the nation, with urban areas generally facing higher expenditures. Current cost of living measures may not accurately reflect these variations, raising concern about their effectiveness in ensuring economic well-being. There are three research objectives. The first one is to analyze the difference in household cost of living across high, medium, and low urbanized states in Malaysia. The second one is to examine the impact of urbanization level on household expenditures for basic needs such as food, housing, and transportation. The third one is to compare the effectiveness of different cost of living measurement methods, including consumer price index and household expenditure data.
Now we look at the methodology. This study used a quantitative context analysis approach, drawing data from two main sources, which is the Household Expenditure Survey and the Consumer Price Index (CPI). States in Malaysia were categorized into three groups based on urbanization level: high, medium, and low. Using comparative analysis, we examined household spending in each group. The analysis focused on three essential cost categories, which is food, housing, and transportation, which significantly influence the rising cost of living in urban settings. The theoretical foundation of our study draws from two key sociological perspectives. First, the Urban Sociology theory, which examines how urbanization transforms social behavior, economic pattern, and institutional dynamic. Urbanization can intensify demand for housing and service, pushing up the living costs. Second, the Human Ecology theory explores the interaction between population, environment, and infrastructure. In urban setting, as city grow denser, resource allocation becomes strained, affecting affordability and quality of life.
Next, for the factors that contributed to the rising cost of living in Malaysia is high property prices and rental rates. According to ASMI at 2023, the increasing cost of living in Malaysia, specifically in urban areas, has resulted in challenges for numerous individuals and families in acquiring affordable and satisfactory accommodation. Next, according to Webmaster 2025, the demand for urban rental has increased as a result of the economic recovery after pandemic. Next, for the factors that contributed to the rising cost of living in Malaysia is increasing grocery prices. Malaysia's heavy reliance on import for essential goods, particularly for the food and energy, made the local susceptible to the global market fluctuation. Next, lower-income households are most affected by rising grocery prices, which result in poor nutrition and food insecurity. Next, the last one is rising transportation and fuel costs. Rising fuel costs put the pressure on Malaysia's economy while also increasing costs and causing the inflation. Now I will pass for the next presenter.
So next, we move to the finding parts which related to our research objective. The first one is to analyze the differences in household cost of living across high, medium, and low urbanized states in Malaysia. High urbanized states in Malaysia such as Selangor, Johor, and Penang report the highest total household cost, often driven by the higher cost for basic needs. In contrast, medium urbanized states like Kedah and Perak incur a moderate household cost, while low urbanized states such as Kelantan, Pahang, and Sabah tend to have a lower total household expenses. Based on the analysis, urbanization correlates with the higher expenditure due to the population density, infrastructure demands, and urban lifestyles. However, some rural states face high living costs due to the poor economies of scales, limited supply chain, and underdeveloped infrastructure, especially in East Malaysia. So the cost of living in the highest urbanized states, but the policy intervention must consider to the hidden cost burdens in less urbanized states, where income opportunities are more limited. So next, I will pass to the next presenter.
So the second finding I would like to explain about the two examine the impact of urbanization's level on household expenditure for basic needs such as food, housing and transportation. So the first one is enhancing quality of life. Urbanization should improve access to housing, transport, healthcare and clean water, but rapid growth often lead to overcrowding, poor infrastructures and high living costs. So the second is social equity in urban planning. Without inclusive planning, low-income groups may struggle to access basic service. So this increase inequality and living expenses, especially where housing and transport are limited. So the third one is housing costs and infrastructure gaps. So in urban area, high demand and limited land push housing costs up. In rural area, poor infrastructures and a few housing projects can also make home expensive. So the last one is food costs and regional difference. So urban food prices are high due to the demand and logistics. In rural area, weak supplier chains and transport issues are also raised for food costs.
Next, for the third finding is to compare effectiveness of different cost of living measurement method, including Consumer Price Index, CPI, and household expenditure data. CPI reflects the average change in prices of a fixed basket of goods and services. While it is widely used and easy to compare over time, CPI often fails to capture localized expenditure behaviors and service quality differences across states. For instance, CPI showed that Johor is the most expensive state, but household expenditure data indicated Selangor had the highest real cost burden. Household expenditure data approach users' actual household spending to gauge the cost of living. The study found that despite lower CPI in some states, household expenditure pattern reveal a more complex picture of economic strain. For instance, Pahang showed high expenditure figures despite having a modest CPI, highlight the limitation of relying solely on CPI as a cost of living measure. From the comparison that we found, it shows that household expenditure data provide a more comprehensive and realistic measure of cost of living than CPI, especially in understanding regional disparities in Malaysia. While CPI is useful for tracking inflation, it fails to account for variation in consumer behavior, service access, and quality across different urbanization strata. Furthermore, urbanization does not uniformly translate to higher living costs. Although high urban states face obvious cost pressures, medium and low urban states also experience financial burdens, particularly in housing and food. This challenges the assumption that less urbanized areas are category cheaper to live in. So now, I pass to the next presenter.
So now I would like to explain about the solution to over-urbanization. So the first solution is the public transportations. So one way to reduce the urban conjunctions is by improving public transports. So the Selangor state government launched the free smart Selangor bus service to cut traffic and pollution while encouraging people to use buses instead of the private car. So this program is helped to improve the access for all communities. So the second solution is about affordable housings. So to tackle the urban housing crisis, the government introduced Rumah WIP, which is affordable housing for low and middle income groups in the cities. So it aims to help those who struggle to afford even the cheapest homes, reducing inequality and easing the cost of living. So the last one is urban farming. So urban farming had improved food security and cut living costs. In 2024, Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim launched the national program to farming, especially for the urban poor, since 2014. Over 124,000 people have benefited from the government's urban agriculture program.
In conclusion, urbanization in Malaysia has played a significant role in driving economic progress and improving infrastructure. However, it has also contributed to the rising cost of living, particularly in major cities where housing, transportation, and daily necessities have become increasingly expensive. This situation poses challenges for many Malaysians, especially those with the lower and middle incomes. Thank you.